There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children. Praise be to Allah.
How you doing, everyone? My name is Ryan and this is Haye, and welcome back to another edition of BoxTalk. Today it's This Week in Boxing. We look at the reviews, rumours and general stuff that's happened in the past week of boxing. Haye, where do you want to start?
I think we've got to start at the top, and the big announcement of Mayweather Maidana. It was a big announcement, but it came from almost nowhere. Look, there were rumours of it happening. Well, actually, to be fair, around sort of mid-June, the rumours of it not happening. The Maidana had been very upset with it and blah, blah, blah. A lot of people have come out and said, oh, I'm not happy about this fight, but who else is there? A lot of people, you've got to really name contenders. People said Furman, and you've got to be realistic. Furman's biggest win is Jesus Soto's Caras. Yeah. That doesn't get you a title shot. People said Porter. Yeah, but again,
He's got mandatory.
And when was the last time Mayweather fought an up-and-coming black African-American? No, I'm talking black African-American. People got to look at it some ways and think, without putting the race card, it's not a race card thing, by the way, but you've almost got to have a B-side. So you've got Mayweather supporters, and you've almost got to have another guy supporters for the pay-per-view. So in Maidana, you're going to get all the Argentinian supporters. Yeah. You know, Hatton, you're going to get all the British supporters. Yeah. And that's what builds and sells a pay-per-view. Porter supporters probably are Mayweather supporters. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get no pay-per-view sales. So people got to look at it sometimes in a business mode as well.
Now, Maidana Mayweather 2 doesn't really bother me. It's Mayweather, it's Maidana. We saw the first fight. I thought Mayweather won quite fairly and comfortably. Maidana made it rough and tumble. But what I do like about this fight is that it might be in New York apparently. Mayweather's got the promoter's license now over in New York. He never had a license previously. They're talking about the Barclays Center in certain places. I think that's good for the sport. You know, if you look at Mayweather, he's kind of like, again, like a hometown fighter. Yeah. He fights in Vegas, always at MGM Grand. That's what he's going to do. And that's just a sell for the high rollers. Bring it to New York, you get real fans, real people. You get a real buzz for the show, and I think that'd be better for boxing overall.
Vegas must be shitting themselves. Yeah. Because I think when Mayweather rolls in with that entourage, that crowd, the money it brings to Vegas alone. Yeah. Wow.
Moving on, you mentioned Sean Porter. Finally, we got a date for Kell Brook, 16th of August. What do you think this week? Do you think it's too soon? Apparently, because they were saying that the fight was going to be in September, and now it's sprang forward 3-4 weeks.
No. Initially, when this fight was kind of announced and mentioned ages ago, the kind of date was August. Yeah. They kind of pushed it a couple of weeks to go to September. I don't think that affects Kell. Kell's been in camp for a long time for this fight. My only concern, almost similar to the Tyson Fury concern, is that he hasn't had a competitive matchup for quite a while. Yeah. A competitive matchup. I know he had that matchup. I can't remember who the guy was. Where he put him down, I think, he got stopped. The referee stopped it in the 6th or 7th. I can't remember who it was. But in terms of competitive matchup, if you look at what Sean Porter's had in the meantime, he's fought Devin Alexander, he's fought Paulie Malignaggi. So he's coming into the ring, you know, in terms of prep, very well. So sparring's going to be key for Kell for this fight.
No, definitely. Sticking with the welterweights, I saw Mike Jones is returning to the ring after a 2-year layoff after getting sparked out cold by Randall Bailey. Think it's a good thing?
No. People say, oh yeah, no. You got knocked out. Why did it take you 2 years to get your mind right and get your thing? I just don't understand the break is far too long. And I'm very surprised. Obviously, he must still be in great shape though, because I'm surprised he's come back at 147.
Same man.
I thought he'd be coming back at 154, even 160. So look, it's good for him that he comes back. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not happy with the 2-year layoff.
Yeah, definitely. Danny Garcia and this card on the 9th of August. This card's been getting a lot of heat. No one likes it. Everyone's getting slated. And he's on Twitter all the time slating Danny Garcia.
Destroying you, Danny.
But then Danny comes out and said, it doesn't matter who I fight, it's the Danny Garcia show. Danny, what's wrong with you? Come on now. No one likes the card. He's still trying to say, look, it's not the greatest fight, but, you know, I'm being active, being busy. You're trying to make himself like a Mayweather type attitude, like, if he's fighting, it's going to sell, it's going to be a big draw. No, it's not.
The thing I've always loved Danny for is that his father does the talking. Yeah. And that's why he was one of my fighters of the year, not 2008, but 2012, because I feel like his father puts him under so much pressure and he's got to deliver. Danny doesn't do it, it's all Angel Garcia. Danny seems to be talking a bit now. Yeah. I don't like that. You know what I mean? You can't defend the fact that you're fighting a lightweight. You can't defend that. So rather than, like you say, just kind of say, look, guys, I wanted, just say I wanted a big name. Just mention a few names you wanted, but I couldn't get this fight. So for me, it's a case of keeping active, blah. And we were like, okay, we'll tune in for the fight. Don't ever say it's the Danny Garcia show. You're not that big
Yeah,
for me to say that.
It's not. And the thing about it, like after your last performance against Herrera, I mean, that's not the Daniel Garcia show.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not. It was a good fight. We all enjoyed the fight, but it was not a fight we expected Daniel to have struggling. And now he's coming up a guy who's, again, no one's Salka.
Yeah, Rob Salka or something.
And like now you're gonna keep talking like this. I mean, if you're gonna be like that, then you're not gonna help yourself for the fan base or for the just general.
And let's be honest. Let's be realistic. He is struggling for the fan base. Yes, he's got his fans. He should have his fans. He's lineal 140 champion. But in terms of that big fan base, hence why they took him to Puerto Rico, they're struggling to get him a fan base. So I don't think this helps you or endears you to fans.
Yeah.
Go on.
I don't want to make every video about Ricky Burns, but I'm going to have to talk Ricky Burns again. Announced this week from Eddie Hearns that Ricky Burns now is coming back in September as at 140. This guy has not had a break. This guy's on a downward spiral, shooting down unbelievably. If they'll give the guy a break, a chance, he lost a week ago, already announced he's coming back 16th September.
Yeah, no,
I mean, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I find it ridiculous. I think as well, I thought he might be out until the new year.
Yeah.
I thought he might be out until a big card in January, February, when the kind of cards start to get rolling again. I've been putting him out in September and moving up in weight to 140.
The guys don't even have the chance to breathe 1 second to think, what am I going to do? And they've already got a date set for him. Now, I believe Ricky mostly said, look, I want to fight, I want to go in. But as a manager, as his promoter, it's going to tell him, look, you need to calm down and slow it down. You know what I mean? Yeah, this is not a good look at all. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is going in the dumps. And then another thing, what makes it even worse, that Eddie Hearn said the only fight he'll do with him in Scotland is against Scott Harrison. Scott Harrison, are you serious?
Scott Harrison, yes.
Are you serious?
I think he's got to look at his court dates first. Scott Harrison's not in jail for that fight.
I mean, come on now. I mean, it's not even saying, oh, let's try something. You're trying to catch these guys out.
What I don't like as well is the 140 move, and there's a couple of reasons I don't like it. Firstly, I don't like it because Ricky Burns has done numerous interviews and says, people have talked about 140, but I'm so easy on the weight. Remember, Ricky Burns moved up from 130. So easy on the weight, so why do I need to do it? The only reason they're going to 140 is now, for me, it's not about the weight thing. It's that all roads are blocked for the champions at 135 now after those performances. So it's like, let's start again at 140 and now use the weight drain as an excuse. He was never struggling the weight. He never mentioned it. 9
out of 10 times in boxing, when you go up in weight and you after a loss, is because when you go up weight, it's because you can't fight the weight class and you lost, and that's the excuse, or you change trainer. It's only change trainer, so now the new excuse is the weight.
Yeah, I don't like it. But for me, I like Ricky Burns. I just wanted to see him have a little bit more of a break.
Yeah.
You know, leave him out until the end of the start of next year. Maybe even long. Like, I'm talking like a long break. Maybe even February, March, that far forward. And let's see what he moves. Quick thing, obviously, Paul Smith announced versus Arthur Abraham.
Yes.
It was a fight that it has been talked about for a while, but finally got announced this week, I think for September the 6th. What do you think of his chances?
I think his chances are quite good.
Yeah.
Honestly and truly.
Yeah.
Abraham, okay, let's be honest. Abraham is not the Abraham he was 3-4 years ago.
Keep going.
Yeah. But at the same time, Abraham's style with that high guard and that pressuring against someone like that's could box and move and actually wants to put a little pop in it, it's not a good thing for him. Now I'm trying to say, I reckon Smith could actually go in there and win a comfortable decision if he boxes and doesn't get into a terror. Because one thing Abraham still has is power.
Yeah, Abraham does have power, but I think people forget as well, Abraham has moved up from 160. Abraham was a middleweight champion, so he's not the biggest 168 either. And like I say, he has that real high guard where he lets you almost get a few free shots off, and then he tries to blast back. He doesn't blast back with the same pop. This is a good example when we talked about fighters going abroad and taking shots. This is the guy that I think's going abroad and taking a legit shot because I think it's someone he can win. He's not mandatory, so you don't have to be a mandatory. He's a voluntary, and I think it's a voluntary that it's a risk for Abraham. But I think they're almost letting this fight happen because the Sauerland brothers and Matchroom have also got this link up now. It seems they've got a genuine link up with Groves, with the Bellew and Cleverly and all that. So they're probably giving this fight for them. I think it's a mistake. I think Smith could go over and win.
Definitely. Last thing I want to say quickly, David Haye saying that he's not going to fight Tyson Fury unless his title shot signed to it. David, I mean, after putting out the fights and everything, I don't think he's in a position to dictate or who he fights and how he fights. I mean, Fury's going for his eliminator, obviously, with Chisora and everything. Don't you think if you're coming back after a long layoff, after shoulder surgery, you ain't tested the shoulder, you should be more lenient, or not lenient, but not so adamant about what position you are in and look at what position you want to be in. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I agree. I think David Haye, obviously, we're not privy to know how how much boxers bring to the table in terms of their worth. I'm guessing, and it probably is right. David Haye minus Vladimir Klitschko, David Haye brings the most money to a heavyweight fight there is, and I think he knows that. So when he brings out those tweets and says that, or in press releases, he almost knows he dictates whatever. Minus Vladimir Klitschko, he's the cash cow. Yeah. We spoke to Tyson Fury the other day, and as angry as he was against David Haye, he said he'll still take the fight. Yeah. And that says a lot about the fact that David Haye probably still is the cash cow and dictates.
I agree with David Haye, is the cash cow, he is the name for him, but you got to go for training. Yeah. You've got to have a fight. Yeah. You've got to test the shoulder. Yeah. I mean, there's so much more to do before you even get to that stage about talking about title shots and other things around and who you're going to fight, who you're not going to fight. At least get to step one.
Yeah, I think he's been doing a bit of naughty sparring behind closed doors. He hasn't had a fight, but I think he thinks he's ready to go. And if David Haye is ready to go, as much as, we might not like the arrogance, it's an injection into the heavyweight division because there's not a lot of money fights in the heavyweight division, unfortunately. That's why everyone seems to mention Vladimir Klitschko, because there's not any money fights. Any more news?
Sal Alvarez saying he's not going to middleweight, but he's not going to weigh in at 154 unless it's a world title.
Yeah. I
don't get it. So you don't want to. So take out his fight with Mayweather when he had to go down. His last two fights have been over 154. Which so you're a middleweight. Which means you're a middleweight, no matter how you cut it. And now he said he's not a middleweight. He's not going to fight at 160, but you want people to weigh in over the weight. That's ego. That's De La Hoya. That's money. I don't see. I love boxing, but I don't like spoiling the weight classes. I believe in catch weights when you got a champion at one weight, another weight, and you meet in the middle because you're trying to unify. I understand that. I agree with that. But when you're a 154 player, and that's what you say, you're 154, fight at your bloody weight class.
Yeah. No, the problem for it's not even Sal Alvarez. The problem with this one is Mayweather and Pacquiao. They started this catch weight thing, and it's just now literally everything can be at a catch weight. You're right. You've either got one way or the other. Look at Chad Dawson versus Andre Ward, for example. Chad Dawson, because he said, no, we're fighting at 171, which is in the middle. Yeah. He went down to 160, which pretty much lost him the fight. Do you know what I mean? He didn't want to fight at a catch weight. Andre Ward said no to catch weights. Someone's just got to put a stop and say, no more catch weights. They're silly. You're right. Unless it's a champion versus champion, unifying, no more catch weights.
I agree with that.
Lastly, very quickly, Garcia came back, beat Graham Earl. And it was for, believe it or not, it was for a WBU, I think it was welterweight title. Earl has not been in the ring for 5 years, and I tweeted on it very quickly before we finished. I tweeted that Earl's last opponent that he fought after getting destroyed has lost 141 fights. That was his last opponent and lost 141. Check it out, guys, on BoxRec.
I tell you this right now, yeah. That fight there, I think, was bad for both fighters. Not only did Earl take a beating in that fight, but it makes Casillas feel he can fight and compete at 12 rounds. It makes Earl think, good look, I went in 12 rounds with Casillas, maybe I could carry on fighting. That fight, if it was a blowout either way, hopefully one of them would have retired. But because it went 12 rounds and both thought they'd done something, I've seen them both coming back, and hopefully there's no sad stories at the end of this.
Okay, there you go, guys. This is our second edition of Week in Boxing. See, there's quite a lot of people think, there's a lot to talk about in boxing. A lot can happen in 1 week. But guys, what do you think? Look, leave your comments below. Email us
at boxtalk@hotmail.co.uk, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at BoxTalkUK.
And also, guys, don't forget to subscribe to our subscribe channel and check out our video next week for another edition of This Week in Boxing. Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.